prairie fire missions, which was infiltrating special forces people up north or in the DMZ or Laos, depending upon where their mission took them.
How big were those helicopters, sir? Like, so when you did the special forces, how many people could that helicopter carry?
Well, when some of the missions, like I had 25 indigenous folks on it at one time, but they were packed in like sardines.
Okay.
The special forces that we used to bring in, they would be usually a 5 in the group.
Mm-hmm.
One special forces guy or 2 special forces guy and 3 indigenous or whatever mix-up they had. We just brought them in and prayed for, because they were real heroes.
Mm-hmm.
And because we'd drop them off at a predetermined spot and pray that we would pick them up at a predetermined spot 6 or 7 days later or what have you, and usually we'd pick them up under fire.
So tell me, okay, so where were you stationed at during these particular 9 months? Where was your operations base?
At NKP, Nakhon Phanom, Royal Thai Air Force Base. It was a base in the northeast part of Thailand, right on the Laotian border, on the Mekong River.
When you left Thailand to go into Vietnam, how long typically for you to get from Thailand into Vietnam and back? How long would that take?
Oh, just usually a couple of hours.
Okay.
It was, we were right, like I said, we were right on the Laotian border.
Right.
So Laos is 80 miles distance between Laos and North Vietnam and South Vietnam. So it's just a small little stretch of land there. So we were zipped across Laos and pretty fast and insert and come back.
Mm-hmm. What was the speed of the CH-3Es? How fast were you moving?
We were moving 120, 125.
And were all the missions during the day, or did you also do nighttime missions?
No, we did them during the day.
Okay.
We'd usually have a wake up of maybe 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning and brief at 5 and take off before sunrise sometimes, so that we'd be over the trail right at sunrise and be able to zip in and do the operation and be back.
Mm-hmm. Were there 1 or 2 incidents that really stand out to you, sir?
Well, I guess one of the other missions that we did a surveillance mission around NKP. And we had star scopes. I'm sure you're not familiar with them, but they were the beginning of night vision goggles. And we would use these big star scopes. And we had security policemen in the back, and we would just periodically at night, different times, patrol around the base perimeter, going out certain miles, just to see if we could see any activity by the Viet Cong trying to infiltrate our base.
Mm-hmm.
And this was right at the beginning, my first one, and we had a A1 take off, and he had engine troubles, so he was out maybe 20 miles or so. So he dropped all of his ordnance. Now, and that was right on the border of Laos. To tell you the truth, I don't know. That was in Thailand. And so they activated us to go up there and check it out to see if there were any problems. And so we came back in and landed at NKP and got some fuel, and then took off with security policemen, went up there. And unfortunately, well, I was co-pilot. The pilot, Troy, got vertigo. And in the 30 seconds it took for me, because we were just getting ready to make an approach, and I was checking the cabin to see that everybody was squared away back there, and I had my head turned maybe for 30 seconds, And in that 30 seconds, he went from straight and level to a high pitch angle. In other words, the nose was pointing towards the heavens. And I turned around, and it was so smooth that I didn't even realize it when I was looking in the back, and I saw what had happened, and I slammed the cyclic forward and pulled the collective up. So fortunately, I was able to get it level before we hit the trees. And the trees were probably 100 feet high. And so the tail rotor and the main rotor hit the trees, and we went down. And we landed on its side, and everybody went out the back, we thought, and I was on the bottom. Since I was the co-pilot, I was flying the left seat. And the pilot, Troy, was higher up from me, so I reached up and held him while he unbuckled his, then we went out his window. And we got away from the aircraft because it was burning, and we had a lot of ammunition and flares in the back, etc., and they were starting to cook off. And then we heard someone yelling back there, so I went back with Sergeant Klaus, and there was a security cop in the cabin, and he couldn't get out because his shoulder was broken. He couldn't climb up. So Sergeant Klaus grabbed him, and I jumped up on the helicopter and lifted him up and drug him away. And unfortunately, his foot, one of the foot, right foot, I'll say, got caught in the webbing in the cabin, and we couldn't dislodge it. So I jumped back up and jumped in the helicopter cabin and brought him back in and dislodged his foot, and then pushed him back out, and Klaus held him, and then we were able to get him away from the aircraft. Well, it was, like I said, burning, and all the ammunition was going off, so it was an interesting time. I got, fortunately, I had my Nomex gloves on, flight gloves, and my Nomex flight suit, and that really saved me a lot because my eyebrows were singed and my face was swollen from the fire, but other than that, I was in good shape. Sergeant Klaus, the flight engineer, his ends of his fingers had worn through the gloves, and he never got a new pair, so the ends of his fingers were all burnt from holding on to the aircraft trying to pull the security cop out. But anyways, we got him out, and we saved his life, so I find that the highlight of my year over there, the fact that we were able to save that guy from burning up.
You got him out, and I want to go back to the vertigo for a second. I'm sure it wasn't common, but that pilots would suffer from vertigo?
Yes, if they... his problem, as he stated, was he looked out instead of concentrating on his instruments. And he looking out, the flames were down below, and he looked out to his right, saw the flames, and for some reason that caused vertical and him pulling back on the cyclic while he was looking out to his right, bringing the aircraft nose high. So it's something that happens if you're not constantly checking your instruments.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. Where, in relation to your base, where were you? How far away from the base were you?
I would say 20, 30 miles north of the base.
And then how were you rescued?
The first light, when they didn't hear from us at all, they sent out another helicopter, and they came out and saw the situation and picked us up.
And during that time period, were you in danger of any kind of enemy contact?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. Where does that instinct come from? I mean, you're you're dealing with the helicopter going down. You've got it crashes. You've got the ammunition going off. Tell me, if you can, just about that process of, is it the training that takes over that says this is what I have to do to save myself and my comrades?
Well, I don't know if it's training or if it's just something in your mind, because I saw other times where some other pilots didn't do things that I felt they should have done. So I think it's just something that's, maybe you're born with it, I don't know. But it's just the fact that there was a life that had to be saved, so I just automatic. I just went back and did it. So I don't know what you rather. I hadn't really thought about it that way at all.